Pennsylvania has sanctioned female girls flag football at the high school level.
Hello everyone, this is Tanya. I'm back with another reading for all 12 signs for my newest deck, Akashic Truth Oracle deck.
Love to see it. Go ahead.
That's my newest deck. Before I get into the readings, I want to let everyone know that I am opening a store, and it is called Cosmic Connections. I will leave the description, the website in the description box. I hope that you all could come by and check out my items. I will let you know when it opens. I am also leaving a timestamp for each reading. The first reading goes to Pisces because I missed them on the last reading that I did. So they're first this time.
Treat this like it's sports. Does that seem like a great idea? We don't need any more sports commentators. We can see the score for ourselves. Hey guys, well listen, thank you for joining the show tonight. Thank you all. We'll see you this time tomorrow.
Give me a minute so I can shuffle the cards and get all the cards out.
Let me just say, what people don't need is spin.
It's going to be 6 cards for each sign.
Everyone, thank you very much. Thank you for watching Newsnight. Saving the Race. Laura Coates is on right now.
Oh, another thing. The reading, my lighting is very low. So I'm going to hold the cards up to the camera and so that you all can read it. Pause the video so you can have time to read the cards. Okay?
While Special Counsel Jack Smith is laying it all out there.
Divine, what truth do Pisces need to know?
Revealed in a newly unsealed 165-page court filing. Light reading for what? A Thursday, Wednesday night? What is it? In it, we get never-before-seen evidence. We get his argument for why Trump is not immune from prosecution. We get a roadmap for how Smith plans to present this case at a potential trial. Notice plan and potential. It essentially amounts to his opening statement, but it's all on paper, of course. He drops a familiar name in page after page. Mike Pence, a lot of the new evidence related
Pisces,
to the former vice president. The man who had
you have
escorted to a secure
deception
on January 6th. That after a mob stormed the Capitol and called for his hanging. The filing explains how moments after what you're seeing happened, an aide rushed to tell him about the mob's threats against Pence. Well, Trump looked at the aide and apparently said only, "So what?"
Release.
And remember this tweet on January 6th? The one from Trump's account? Accusing Pence of lacking courage for not tipping
miracles.
Well, Smith argues he can prove Trump was by himself and using his own phone.
Forgiveness.
How? By calling as a witness the only other Trump advisor who had access to his account.
Solitude.
Smith cites an assistant who heard Trump tell family members.
That's your reading.
Not in his official role as president.
The next reading
Smith
is Cancer.
by claiming Trump used private actors and his own campaign infrastructure to overturn the election. He also gets crafty with how he describes one Mike Pence, whose evidence Smith definitely wants to introduce at a trial. Throughout the entire filing, Trump and Pence are described as running mates. He's trying to show their conversations were
Divine, what truth do Cancer need to know?
And not official acts. He also argues that Pence's role during the January 6th certification was legislative. It wasn't part of his duties in the executive branch. Will the Supreme Court buy it? I mean, we'll see if it ends up back there. Take out the word if. When it ends up back there. The chance this case goes to trial before the election, though? Zilch. Zero. None. And if Trump gets elected, the educated guess says it goes away. That doesn't mean this filing won't have bigger implications for the election. It's a final chance for voters to hear some of the evidence that is being alleged by Jack Smith before Election Day. It's also a chance for Trump to claim the deck is stacked against him. He's already doing that tonight, by the way.
He's a deranged person. I call him deranged Jack Smith. He works for Kamala and he works for Joe. This was a weaponization of government, and that's why it was released 30 days before the election.
Well, 34, but point taken. Joining me now, senior legal affairs reporter for Politico, Josh Kirstein.
Okay, I'm ready.
Elise Adamson, and CNN legal commentator and former Trump attorney, Tim Parlatore. Glad to have all of you here today.
Cancer.
We expected this to come, maybe not anyone, but so Jack Smith did. Let me start with you, Josh, because you call this filing a blow.
Your first card is obligation.
And a jury presentation. If that would happen one day, what do you think is his goal in doing this, knowing the audience is not really
see it through?
It's the judge. What is he trying to do?
Well, he's trying to give her as much of the evidence as he can, because so far what she's really had
stuck in fear,
which was just sort of a bare bones outline of his case, and this really fills in a lot of the details, that a lot of the juicy
forgiveness
relayed are him laying out the facts. There's one in there where they talk about a Trump campaign aide talking to somebody
enabling
at an arena where they were counting votes on election night and telling them to start a riot. Now that allegation, in sort of vague terms, was in the
break free.
Now we have a direct quote to back it up. So it's that kind.
That's it for Cancer. The next reading is for Scorpio.
Candidate wanting to stay in office. Tim, of course, he would say, no, the integrity of the election was
victim mindset.
Period. It wasn't me as a candidate, it was me as the President of the United States. But to Elisa's point, I mean, the notice. They have in this
wisdom.
Pleading, they include Attorney General Bill Barr, who's basically saying, look, he saw him on Fox News, saw him saying that there was
consider the
and
options.
came out to say, no, there actually was not. We looked into the matter and beyond, trying to show there is evidence that he was on notice. This was not.
Let it go.
It did not happen. It was not happening. How persuasive would that be to this judge? Not to a jury, but to this judge.
Step back.
I'm sure to this judge, it'll be very persuasive. But you have to remember, this is just the prosecutor's brief.
Right.
And it is cherry-picked.
Protect.
What he thinks is going to be the most favorable. Obviously, it's omitting anything that would be favorable.
That's it for Scorpio. Next reading is Aries. Spirit, what message do you have for, what truth do you have for Aries?
Where I think, I'll read it to you, where Smith says, quote, it's hard to imagine stronger evidence that conduct is private than when the president excludes his White House counsel and only wishes to have his private counsel present. This is when he's talking to Pence and pressuring him not to certify the election. I mean, the White House counsel's role is not to be private counsel, it's to think about the actual presidency, the office itself.
What message do you have for Aries? What truth do you have for Aries?
And not White House counsel.
What truth do they need to
What
hear?
was the reason for that? It may well have been because he was on the outs with his
One
wife,
more.
and they had clashed over a bunch of different issues. And what I see as I go through this motion is that Trump was getting advice and information from different sets of people. There were a lot of people telling him there were no real credible reports of fraud. And there were a handful of people who were telling him there might be fraud or they were hearing some evidence. And the prosecution here says, well,
okay, Aries, you have wisdom.
Co-conspirator. So his
I think
advice
that
doesn't
law firm
count.
was the office of Yes Men LLP, right? That's the one that was for some of them?
Right, so that's one of the dilemmas here. It's sort of
Reward
like
and
you
recognition.
go to doctors till you find one who tells you you're not sick. You know, I mean, and it seems like that's what Trump was doing, but I think that that's going to be if this
Open
does
up.
Eventually go to trial. The thrust of his defense that he had credible people, the former mayor of New York City and U.S. attorney for the Southern District,
Bravery.
giving him advice. Somebody who was an esteemed constitutional law professor, John Eastman, giving him advice. Sidney Powell, maybe that one's a little tougher to
Speak
swallow,
your
given some
truth.
things that are in here where he calls her unhinged and some things even worse than that. So maybe he had his doubts.
Compassion.
About it. It's a question of, are you entitled to believe anybody you want because you want to preserve some sort of a...
That's it.
Did believe that person.
The next reading is for Leo.
Of a criminal trial, it is a good defense.
Boundless possibilities.
Likely here at a trial, but right now, obviously, we're in the stages of trying to demonstrate to this judge whether the Supreme Court's ruling on immunity means this
Miracles.
way, or they can delineate between official and private conduct. Thank you so much, everyone. I want to bring in someone who served on the January 6th committee, CNN senior political
Difficult road.
Congressman Adam Kinzinger. He has endorsed Kamala Harris for president. Congressman, thank you for joining us. We learned from this filing some significant things we knew before, but now we've laid out in great detail. Here, we know that the filing from that the FBI has mapped out about how Trump
follow your passion
on January 6th. Was that surprising to you?
Yeah, I mean, that was a huge surprise. There's a lot of
release attachment.
We weren't able to obtain in the committee. We were able to tell a broad story backed with a lot of evidence, but we were time limited.
That's it for
this is
next reading is Sagittarius.
That's a decision you get to make. If you think presidents shouldn't be above the law, then this is a very essential thing to read.
Well, Congressman, I mean, Smith described the increasingly desperate plan by Trump and his co-conspirators. This is as alleged in the brief, of course, to overthrow the election, how they tried to manipulate the vice president in his legislative capacity, of course. What do you say to those who are still defending those actions in particular? And by the way, as recently as last night, we heard in a VP debate, Senator J.D. Vance, his running mate, giving what Governor Walz described as
thank you
answer with respect to who won the election.
Sagittarius, you have
Donald Trump
be
lost.
present.
Donald Trump will be really upset about that, even though I know J.D. Vance in his heart knows that he lost. So, yeah, I mean, this is a huge deal, and for those that are still
expand
for Donald Trump, I don't know if there's much more I can say to convince them, but I guess let's just role play for a second and say, imagine this is a Democrat doing exactly this. Would you be okay with that? Would you think
scattered energy
of a president of the United States? And if the answer is no, then you probably need to hold to the standards now that you believe are important.
let it go.
The restoration of Donald Trump was very evident. We were able to present this on the committee. Just think about his meeting with the DOJ officials where he
protect.
said, look, I'm not asking you to, do anything really illegal. I just want you to say the election is corrupt. That's it.
Step
put
back.
Some balm on your conscience. You're just going to say it's corrupt, and then let me and the Republican congressman.
That's it. The next reading is for Libra. Pause.
Time to move. Make it easy with Open Door. Sell your home in any season.
Protect.
Any reason. Start your move at opendoor.com.
Forgiveness.
Losing weight and keeping it off? Same.
Discover the power of Wegovy.
Compassion.
Wegovy, I lost 35 pounds. And some lost over 46 pounds.
Reflection.
And I'm keeping the weight off.
Wegovy helps you lose weight and keep it off. I'm reducing my
And
risk.
authenticity.
It's the only FDA-approved weight management medicine that's proven to reduce risk.
That's it for Libra. The next reading is for Aquarius.
Just hours after Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, refused to acknowledge that Trump
Reward and
pretty
recognition.
much this ad was going to write itself at that point, right? The Harris campaign then released that ad. They brought January 6th back into the spotlight, which is 33 days now.
Bravery.
Joining me now to discuss, CNN contributor and New York Times journalist Lulu Garcia-Navarro, former Trump 2020 Director of Strategic Communications, Mark Lauder,
Miracles.
White House Senior Director and co-host of the podcast Trailblaze, Naira Hawk. Glad to have all of you guys here. Mark, listen, we knew that ad was coming. But
Healing.
you know it was coming. He's also, Trump is fuming, calling that this particular release of this filing election is
Shame.
How worried should the campaign be about the details that are contained? They're allegations, but they're out there now.
No, I'm not worried at all. Every time the Democrats
And bring balance.
resorted to lawfare, it has backfired. Donald Trump has gone up in the polls, up in
That's it. The next reading is for Gemini. Gemini, you have follow your passion.
population, and it should matter to a certain segment of the population, because ultimately the person who is going to be in that seat in this
strategy and
of
planning.
the United States is someone who is going to uphold the Constitution, has to uphold the rule of law, and we all, I think, know at this
Authenticity.
point what happened on January 6th. And this is being actually put out there now for the people to understand and to
Sorry
digest
about
and
that.
to make their decision.
My question then is, how about January 6th, 2025? Because Congressman James
Healing.
Very good
has
question.
already said if Donald Trump wins, he will file articles to have him removed from office because he's going to want to
And
overturn
Donald
the
Trump
election.
and Donald Trump himself has
everyone's
also
doing
said,
this.
but there is a big
See it
difference
through.
between everyone is doing this and what Donald Trump did on January 6th
So
and leading up to that.
2000,
There is a
2004,
Souls whisper.
the far more likely
Where?
scenario, there's
Souls
almost an objection,
whisperer.
like almost a ritual objection to certify
That's
the
it for
election.
Gemini. The next reading is
Right.
for
That's just been asked
Virgo.
for the campaign, Mark, largely. But now she's revealing this. It does
Dependence.
conflict with the perception of what the Trump campaign has articulated. What does this do to the campaign?
Well, I think the president's been very clear. He thinks this should be decided by the state legislatures, and the people in those states will
Authenticity.
decide where they fall.
Does
He
she
has
go
said,
further than that, though?
well, but he has said that he thought that Florida and some other states went too far with their 6-week ban. He believes the 7th
Warrior
and 9th
spirit.
abortions in California, otherwise allowing babies to die after they survive a botched abortion in Minnesota is too far. And so there's got to be some
Wisdom.
around. Mrs. Trump is a woman of considerable thought and intelligence, and she, I think, has the same right to speak her mind and let people
Trust in yourself.
Trump has done the same for him.
Yeah, Shay,
There's a difference
one
between
second on air. There was a point, just to clarify, in the
And
debate last night when
acceptance.
Vance raised that same point about Minnesota laws allowing for a doctor to turn a blind eye.
That's it.
towards-
The next sign I'm reading for is Taurus.
J.D. Vance last night saying we
Detach.
as a party have to re-earn the trust of the American women who have strong beliefs on this issue. And so I think obviously both of these
Pause.
things can be true at the same time.
It was interesting that they actually, he conceded the point they don't have the trust, but also it wouldn't be the first time that Melania
Release
commented
judgment.
that end of an election cycle would have been very persuasive. Remember, there was that's just locker room talk comment.
Take
that
the
she
high
came in and
road.
Talked about and changed a lot of perception. So I wonder if lightning has struck twice. Thank you, everyone.
Obligation.
Tonight, a new barrage of allegations against Diddy. This time coming from more than 100 accusers who are set to file new
Self-love.
sexual assault lawsuits. And the attorney representing them says the names of Diddy's accomplices.
That's
will,
it for the next time. Last but not least, I'm reading for Capricorn. Capricorn, your cards, it's just like you was throwing your energy away. It's like you don't want to listen. That's the energy that I got. You don't want to listen. You don't want to listen to this. But I'm going to tell you.
Our simple application makes it easy to get fast financing.
Step back.
It's time for Biz2 Credit.
You leave it enough, baby.
You can earn your
Compassion.
master's degree for under 11K in less than a year.
Your competency-based master's.
Have faith.
I grew up working in my dad's ironworking shop. Then I ran a school teaching kids carpentry and welding.
Victim mindset.
We're building and manufacturing again.
Capricorn, you don't want to listen to this.
Roads and bridges, electric vehicles and
Some of you anyway, listen. What did I just say? And I didn't even see this card. Listen. You don't want to listen to this. Jump in.
The Camry legacy is earned through decades.
That's the reading for today. I'll get back with you all later. Bye.